I hope you guys can see me. Let me know if you can see me because I want to make sure I'm actually live. Just say yes. We can see you. Okay. So I'm gonna get started. I have some people. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Mary, Mususu. Okay. So let's get started. Welcome back to the Afro Boss Lady Show. This is your host, Jenny. And today is really a special episode. I'm actually super excited. Today I'm going to have two men. There were going to be three, but one just had something, so he couldn't make it. But still, we have two amazing men. And I just wanted, this is going to be episode 5, by the way. And episode 5 is going to be talking about the topic of domestic violence. Basically partner abuse, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're married, whether you're single, whether you grew up in a family that actually where the parents were actually, one of the parents were actually abusing one of the parents. So this topic is really going to be for all of you who want to know how can we prevent domestic violence and how can we as a community actually be better people, respecting women, raising our children the right way so that they don't repeat the same cycle. So let's get started. I'm going to invite Angelbert first so that he can introduce himself and we can get started. Hi, Angelbert.
Hey.
How are you?
Hi, I'm very good. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for actually taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with me. I know it's been several weeks of planning, but we finally make it.
Yeah.
So can you just introduce to my followers, my viewers, who you are and what you do?
My name is Angelbert Chikere. Of course, it's right there on the screen. I'm a Catholic deacon for the Diocese of San Jose, and I just enjoy reading. And I think it's a great pleasure being on here with you to talk about and just have conversations about this very intriguing topic. And I think we'll have a great conversation.
Okay, awesome. Let me bring Dr. Paul Sindze.
Good, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So, Dr. Paul Sindze, I haven't seen you for such a long time. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. Can you just introduce to my viewers who you are and what you do?
Well, thank you, Leon. It's been a long time, maybe 5 years or 6 years.
More?
Yeah, maybe more than that. So,
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Sindze from Minnesota. I enjoy having this type of discussion, talking out what our society live and go through every day, and trying to find ways to improve people's life standards and have a better understanding of the world that we live in. So there we go.
Thank you. Thank you both for making the time. We're going to be 4 of us, but one couldn't make it. But we can still have an amazing conversation. So I wanted to get started. First of all, I think all of us are aware. I think you have to be blind not to be aware of what's going on, the climate. So I just wanted to, first of all, just touch base on that. How do you think that we as the Black community can be in this, can actually work on our mental health? Because there are so many bad news going on. So I just wanted to not be insensitive about that. And I wanted to just know how you guys feeling and about this climate.
Well, let me just say, as first generation immigrant, Black immigrant from Africa, coming here and live in the United States and be witnesses this kind of such a cruel behavior. Uh, it's very sad. It make you rethink twice, and especially a guy like me who actually immigrated in the U.S. not at his younger age, but you know, above his 30th. Um, it's really, really sad, and we take everything at this point into our heart, especially when
Yes.
you have kids around you growing up, and everything just flow in your mind. Like, is this a society that I would like my kids to grow in?
Yeah.
What can I actually do to get this reverse? Like a white man will not be looking at me just like an animal,
Yeah.
you know, have that type of respect that even in your workplace, you don't have to work 4 times more than your colleague, white colleague, to deserve your spot. So this type of cruel racism destroy human mind, destroy humankind in both sides. Because not all white are racist. They are just, a little fractions of people that think they are superior of other mankind and take deliberately uh, on them, and most of the time support by the institutions
Yes.
to involve themselves in this kind of activity. Like you
Yes.
can say that there has been a outrage out there calling for reforms on how police actually policing, to see how the system as an institution can actually address it in a better way. So,
Yeah.
but my call to every black male, black woman, black mankind out there will be: don't let this keep you down. Keep your head high and know your own value, and know that you are humankind, and always um, do your best to have yourself being respected and have other and respect others. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
yeah, it's terrible. I might just let India take over that now at this time, because it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Dr. Sindze. I think that is something which you are left to sit with it for a bit. You can't just uh, rush over it. Um, we can't make excuses. Oh, I also occur as a white or non-black American to say, oh, I also
Mhm.
used to suffer and so on. And then we have people who do not live here in the United States who would always feel like, oh, the black people, the African Americans are complaining, or they should just work hard, they should just do this. It's easier said until you wear the shoes, right?
Yes. Yes.
And being black people from our roots in Africa and coming over here to the United States as grown people, we do not have the trauma of the 7-year-old, for example, that we saw matching at the age of 7. She's already living out an experience she will carry for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before she's even 7, it didn't start happening today. At 3, at 4, at 5, she's already living through that. And so we would always have the mental struggle residual that will remain after all is said and done. We are coming
Yes.
from a place where, if according to Trevor Noah and most of the people who have spoken on this thing, they'll say, "Oh, I never knew I was black until I came to the West." So the
Mm-hmm.
color differentials are not there, and what we know is maybe financial differentials or social structure differentials. But here, not only are people educated by media, they are also educated by their own families.
Yes.
That people, certain people of certain color, are gangsters, are thugs, and all of that. So you find a child, the white child or the African child, you find African American child, you find them growing in that atmosphere where there is already a divide.
Mm,
I've said this before, and I just want to say it here again. This is beyond politics.
yes.
This is not about Democrats or Republicans. No, this is about our shared humanity, the dignity that we all share as humans, male, female, and otherwise. We all share that dignity. And so we need to start from ground zero. The media
Mm,
we watch, how we educate our kids, primarily education, and be honest to our conscience. And while we do that, we also want to make sure we have legislation that calls to both be called to account those who do not recognize this humanity.
okay. I always say this thing. We are not born racist. Racism is something that is taught. If you see children
Mhm.
playing in the playground, they don't see color, they see themselves in each other. So, like you say, it really has to go back to education. Many of us coming from Africa, there are so many things that we are so ignorant to what had happened to African Americans in America. And it's one of those things that you always hear other people say, it's not my problem, it's their problem. And I'm one of the people who say it's our problem. Because just look at what happened to African people in China. Come on. Even within Africa, you still have those type of, systemic oppression going on. When you have foreigners who have the companies in Africa and who are treating us the same way that, people treat us here. So I hope this climate is gonna. I mean, I feel like many people have the energy and they are fighting. The voices are being heard, and I hope it's gonna continue like that because it's so easy for us sometimes to stand up for 1 week or for 1 month and then everything dies down.
Yep.
So I just hope this time is really gonna. I mean, it's really gonna stay, and until we see change, then we'll stop because there's no right way for justice to be made. I mean, as much as we fight, people are breaking things, unfortunately. But this is anger. This is anger that have been built up for years and years, for hundreds of years. So I think, I hope seriously, because even in France recently, I was talking to my sisters and they told me just 3 days after George Floyd passed, there's another black man that was killed the same way by police officer in France. So you hear stories like that. It's not just in America that is happening, it's everywhere else. So we're just hoping that you guys who are watching and listening to us, we can all do our own thing, have our own little platform to actually impact others. So let's get started. Are you guys ready to talk about my exciting topic? I'm so passionate. Okay, let me tell you how this thing started. I grew up in Cameroon. By the time I
Mhm.
was 7 years old, I used to go on vacation to one of my aunts. And unfortunately, that was what she was experiencing, domestic abuse. And I never understood it. And by the time I was 13, 14, I started having girlfriends who were, who had boyfriends that were actually being physically abused, sometimes sexually abused. So this passion of mine had been there for such a long time that during this quarantine, I felt like numbers just went up and up and up. So many people, I mean, you have women dying, you have women that are, there's so much things going on. And it just, I just felt like I could not stay silent one more time. Like, we talk about this in our homes, but we never actually publicly talk about these things so that others can also learn that this is not the right way. Even though we have normalized it, this is not the right way. So, what are some of the reasons? Because we live in a patriarchal society, what are some of the reasons that you guys believe um, is uh how can I put that? What are some of the reasons our society normalize this abuse on women, majoritarily on women? I know men are also being abused, but when you look at the numbers, most of the victims are women. So what do you think about that? How is it that we as a society we normalize this thing? Dr. Paul Sindze.
I just have an issue about how you actually framed it. There is no normalization of abuse.
Mhm.
Abuse has been subject of combating. We combat every kind of abuse every single day. We have physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, emotional abuse, organizational abuse, institutional abuse. We have a lot of type of abuse. Even financial abuse come into play when we are talking about uh, abusive behavior.
Mhm.
So even whipping a kid in front of her sister or her brother, or beating up your girlfriend or your wife in front of your kids is actually double abuse. You are trying to normalize to your kids that beating your wife is normal. So when that kid grows up, if he did not grows up in different environment, he will just assume that beating the girlfriend or the wife is normal because daddy used to do it.
Mhm.
Mama never complained about it. Grandma never complained about it. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So normalizing that people will usually brought up their manhood. I am the man. I can do whatever I want. No, you are abusing a humankind. If you want to be respect other people as well. Treat people with dignity. That's what it's about.
Mm.
So I'm not saying myself giving any type of excuse to abusive behavior. Even bullying is an abuse. So
Yes.
we should be very careful the way we actually talk to people, the way we react to our own frustrations, and the way we take on stress from our normal activity or somewhere else. We should always be cautious to how we interact with people.
Mhm.
So abusive behavior can come into play in many ways. So now talking about discrimination behavior or abusive behavior against women in our society. Uh, some people, because they have a long history of abuse, I will talk about Africa because that's where actually I grew up.
Mhm.
Trying to take that as a cultural or traditional way of living, but there is no such a way. It's just like men in that particular society overuse their power as the head of a family, overuse their power because of their physical and physiological uh, posture. That men muscle are naturally stronger than women.
Yes.
Men are the one that usually in our society work and have money. So by misusing or not helping the wife, sharing money that they earn with the wife or their kids eventually come into play as an abuse. So, yet coming back to the way the question is framed, there is no such normalizing
Yeah,
abuse.
and I think I say normalizing because I mean, because maybe I'm looking at the African construct where nobody even stand up and say something because it's happening too often that it becomes the norm. That's why I use the term normalizing. Angelbert, why do you think about the way our society just um, kind of like condone this behavior?
I mean, I think that I don't see a major distinction in how you frame the question. In my dialect, which is the Igbo dialect, I'm from Nigeria. Of course, I'm out here in California. But I was born in Cameroon, by the way.
Yeah.
So, parle un peu de français, mais pas comme vous. Um, no, but I think that the same, my dialect, if something evil sustains and stays through the year, it becomes a culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, in that regard, because these evil has been with us for a long while and been perpetuated majorly by men, it's almost become a culture. It's almost
Yeah.
become something we cannot talk about. So
Mm.
the young guys, I remember growing up as a teenager. I'll say this in pidgin English so that they can really fit the context, but I will translate it. You would hear a young man say, Masa slap danga.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A young boy would tell his friends, I slapped the girl. I mean, I've been one of those people, maybe because I didn't have a sister growing up, so I ended up cherishing the females that were around me, beginning with my mother, God rest her soul. But it was always something I couldn't understand. I would see nothing wrong back then as a kid if men were to fight. You would hear me say, no fight that girl. Don't fight the girl. Go and fight a guy who is like you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it begins from that trajectory of our society and what we have allowed to happen. And we have tried to explain it. As a grown up, as an adult, what happens most often, you would hear men, maybe when they're hanging out, the guys are hanging out and drinking, you would hear them say things like, man, I was just frustrated and she was still talking, so I just hit her and then I left. They say, yeah, it's okay. So, no, it's not okay. No, it's not okay. So I think begins again from education. And when I talk about education, it's not classroom education, it's education that is majorly family education, peer education, and what we project in our society. I'll
Yeah.
just like to have those things laid out like that. There's also the question which you mentioned, Dr. Sindze, about head of the family. As we go on, I would like to speak in my capacity as a Catholic deacon in the understanding of that concept, because we also have greatly religious, I want to call it miseducation.
Mm-hmm.
I say that with particular reference in mind to biblical passages that we've had people quote and use in wedding ceremonies, in teaching people about marriage, to kind of oppress the woman while giving the man a pass to feel like they're over and above the woman. So as we
Mm.
go into
Mm-hmm.
this conversation, hopefully, I would like to draw that stretch from the biblical standpoint so that because again, I have a series of friends on Facebook, and this topic is a front burner question for most of them are women. Some are really not happy, and I am also not happy. And we end up hearing people point at religion, and I say no, it's not religion. It's the people who convey the truth of religion that misconstrue it, and they use it instead of letting these biblical passages that they quote speak to the truth of the reality that we exist in. They take
Mm-hmm.
verses and let culture speak to them.
Mm.
They
Mhm.
don't do an exegesis, if you would want. For biblical scholars who probably watch this later will know what I mean, where you interpret and try to go down into the nuances of the text. They do an exegesis, they go the other way around, right? And I think that's very huge. And it has kept a lot of women in that mental bondage and has given
Mm-hmm.
a lot of men a mental pass to think that they can do what they do to women, brutalize them. After all, they are the weaker vessels. After all, they are lower vessels and all of that. Hopefully, as we keep unpacking and peeling this conversation, I will touch those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, I think we've had this conversation before, but we didn't go into depth. But the construct of marriage in the religion, in the religious setting, also, I mean, 100% agree with you. I've heard so often women, some are actually my friends, that they are in abusive relationship, physically abuse, emotional abuse, psychologically abuse, and they call on, it's the devil that is making my husband do this. It's the devil, I just need to pray. It's not, I always say it takes two to tango, right? You can have one partner not working on himself, and the wife, the woman, believe that it's the devil. So it's something that is a bit sensitive, because by the time you add religion in the equation of the way we live our life, you will see that so many people will be like, you cannot really, I mean, the man is supposed to be the leader, and many people have this misunderstanding that being the leader means that I can discipline you with force. I can discipline you with with punches. So it's really sad. I'm not sure how we can actually do a better job, but that's was going to be my next question. How can we actually work on preventing that? Is there any type of educational reform that our community, and I'm talking specifically to men, is there any way, because I have you both on here, is there any way in your own environment, your own circles, is there any way you can give suggestion as to how men can be part of the conversation? Because more time than often, women talk about these things, and you don't have many men actually participating. But you
Mhm.
cannot have the victims talking about the same things over and over, and not have the perpetrator participate to actually be educated. Just like with racism, what's going on with the Black Lives
Yeah,
Matter. We
yeah,
have to tell white people, like, it's either you pull up or you shut up. It's like you have to show up. Just emotionally, I am there with you. Emotionally, I'm there with you, but you at home, you are living your best life. And we are the one being, like treated like dirt. So that's why you see when people rally, when people are marching, you will see a lot of white people, because this was a time for us Black people to say, this is not just our fight. You are the perpetrator. How can you come together and actually join forces with us, so that we can also, have our voices heard? So I believe the same analogy, the same philosophy goes into domestic violence. Women cannot just spend the whole time talking about it, and men are avoiding this topic. And I'm not here to actually point fingers at any men. I'm just here to find out, how can we work together so that men can better understand that we are human beings, we are women, we are mothers, we are the daughters, we are the sisters. So therefore, leading a relationship or leading a marriage shouldn't be leading by physical force. So how can we, I think my question is long, but what are some of the solutions or suggestions that you guys can think we can actually put in place in that sense?
Well, let me take this on. Couple months ago, I read a very good article written by Side, I think it was Side Alonje,
Mm-hmm.
yep, on The Guardian. If you can just Google her name on The Guardian, she has published an article talking about woman abuse in our society. So she come into play and state that in Nigeria, if my memory is good, about 23% of women have been into abusive relationship, and and this type of abusing behavior come from the misunderstanding of the tradition, and finally then normalize it like it is normal to be abused, so they do not actually report it.
Yeah.
So the first step to address woman abuse is to report it, even if you are not the one subject to the abuse. If you actually witness any type of abuse, physical, financial, or emotional, or even witness someone being bullied multiple times, report it. Don't stay quiet. You see something, say something. That's that's all. And when you say something, make sure that you dedicate a little bit time to make sure the report that you did, someone actually did something with it. It takes some type of punishment to the abuser to get other people being afraid to
Yes.
take a step back when they are about to commit any type of abusing action. If you are married in a relationship or you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, at the time that the guy start raising his voice or talking to you anyhow, respectfully tell him to bring his voice down as simple as possible, because only raising the voice on you at that time might escalate to something else that you don't know until you are subject to that abuse. Just be careful around, about our surrounding. Never talk down to your partner around kids. You can get angry about something, but trying to control your emotion. And finally, I might just say, what we're doing right now is part of our, you know, helping in our society to overcome this type of abuse going forward. This can be, in face-to-face meeting, giving conferences, not only amongst women, but mixed men and women getting together and address this type of uh, abuse that many people usually just, excuse my language, just sucking in and never said anything. But you will see her coming out with burns and blizzard all over the face, or get suddenly sick with no reason until the pain goes away. And then she shows with a smiling face. But when someone that has been or is in an abusive relationship smile even in public, you can tell if you have that mindset or that kind of clear vision to interpret people gesture and the way human being behave. You can clearly see that these people, even though he is laughing joking in public like this, that person is not actually happy in that relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, and this goes both way. Not only abuse, men are abused as well. You know,
Yes. Yes. No, that's
and,
true. That's true.
men are abuser. Well, it's just like the proportion of men that has been into abusive relationship is kind of a little bit low, comparing to a woman. So I might
Yeah.
just let Angelbert take over a little bit. I don't want to monopolize the talk.
Thank
No,
you.
no, no.
That was actually
I think you're making great points, Sindze, and I think it's high time we began addressing these things. Um, the first thing, just for me, which I again and again keeps coming to the fore, is education.
Mhm.
The first dimension of the education is seeking psychological help. It is no shame for a man who has anger issues, who has issues of emotional controllessness, if you want, to seek medical help. There is help. You know, they say in my dialect, I always like quoting from my dialect. They say, he who seeks, somebody who is a sojourner or somebody who's a traveler and asks question along the way never loses his path,
Mhm.
because you have that struggle, because you realize. So first thing is for the man to be able to realize, when I get angry, I lose myself. For a loving partner to also help identify it in the man, and for the man to be humble enough, humble, I use the word humble, to break the ego, come down from the horse and be humble enough to seek help. Because if you really want to love someone, I would think honestly, you want to love them with the best version of yourself. And
exactly.
you would want them to return that love with the best version of themselves. So is to first identify the self and how the self needs help. I've always played with this word. I also try to write poetry sometimes. Some people call me poet, but I love poetry. I've always
That's
played with the
good.
word belonging.
Yes.
Belonging. That word is a combination of two words, to be and long.
Not to be.
So to be and long, those two words, if you put it together, it gives you belong. I believe when we go into relationships, marriages, we go to belong to it fully, wholeheartedly. But first, at the beginning of that word, there is a be, which means you have to be yourself. You have to realize who you are. You have to go deep into your positives and your negatives, your strengths and your weaknesses, and try to grow, try to have the ability to identify yourself in order to last long in the relationship.
Correct.
Then you can fully be long and belong, right? Now, that's on the psychological part. I'm not a psychologist. I have read a little bit in my philosophy days about psychology, had a lot of teaching on that. But we have experts out there who are doing great job, great job, and we need to
Hmm.
listen to them. We need to consult with them. Now, on the level of family, I think the education needs to start from the home, not just by what you say to the children. Of course, that is very important, but also by how the children see you behave and see you act. The amount of respect that you, as the father, as the man, give to the woman. You go on the internet. There's something people write these days. You say, "Oh, I'm a black king, a black queen." If you are a king, could you have a behavior that makes the woman realize she's a queen?
Hmm.
If that is not balancing, then I think we're deceiving ourselves as men. That takes me to the second dimension of what I want to talk about education at the level of the peer groups. Good men must stand up, not just to shame bad men, or permit me use the word bad in this situation in terms of them being abusive, but also to hold them accountable. I think that when a man is abusive and has a peer group or a group of friends of men who are
Hmm.
not or two or three people there. It could be a group of five men, and two of those men don't support abuse, be it emotional abuse, and that's something that we need to pay attention to because we always talk always about violent physical abuse. Emotional
Yeah.
abuse is even more deadly. Um, we we need to start having men among their peer groups stand up and say, "Men, you messed up. This is not
Yep.
proper.
Mm.
This is shameful to your children. What
Yep.
example are you setting for your son? Would you like your daughter to be treated like that? Would you?" So we need to ask those conscience questions that does not just only educate the man, but also hold him accountable
Sure.
at the level of the peer group. Now, the other level is at the level of the circle that we belong to. In my case, I am, again, a deacon of the Best of San Jose here in California. And I think at religious spheres, we have that privilege to journey with people before they get married. It's called marriage education. Before they get married, we and I talk about this also way beyond the Catholic Church. I'm talking about religious spheres as a whole, particularly Christianity. We must begin to educate couples on how to love properly. And this brings me to what I've mentioned earlier on about these biblical verses that have been weaponized over time.
Mm-hmm.
I give you some very clear examples because, again, people fall to that trap of always weaponizing the Bible. Very, very dangerous. The man is the head of the family. Yes, he is. But head in what? Chief in command of what? Leadership in what? If God is love and we are called to imitate love, the man becomes then the head of love and loving. The man becomes chief in command of love and loving. The man becomes leadership in command, or however you want to phrase that, in loving, not in anything else. The fruit of that love becomes what brings about how you collaborate as husband and wife, as people in relationship. And that takes me to Ephesians 5, verse 22, which has always been quoted. You see a woman is complaining to a man, to a religious leader, to a priest, to a pastor, to whoever the religious leader is, that my husband is just endure it. Wife, be submissive to your husband. Wife, think you are killing the woman. And so that man, after a while, when she gets so embittered and finds the courage to move on, not only does she live with a bitterness against men, she also lives with this so much deep distrust for religion and religious leadership. Because she would say, when I was in that pit of hell, you asked me to stay there, weaponizing the Bible, saying, "Oh, wives, be submissive to your husband." But what we do not read, and what most of the preachers do not preach, is from verse 23 right down to 24, 25, 26, 27. If you read Ephesians 5 from verse 22 downwards, you would realize what I said earlier on, that the Bible demands of the man to be chief in command of loving the way Jesus loved the church.
The church.
Mm-hmm.
The leadership is not leadership in slapping the woman, it's not leadership in being emotionally manipulative, it's leadership in loving the woman to purification. In fact, I said to somebody, let's live in the most unjust world and take that biblical passage. I would like to be a woman. Because I say that because
So, uh,
I said that just a minute, but since I said
go ahead.
the woman is asked just to submit to the man, just to respect the man. But the man is demanded, and we must challenge men to rise up to that leadership, to love the woman to the point of dying for the woman where Christ died for the church. we must begin to hold men accountable.
Accountable.
Biblical passage. You will find in First Peter 3:1 to 7. You will find in
Okay.
Colossians 3:18, I think 18 to 21 or so. All these verses call the man to love the highest form, and that is leadership. That is what it means to be the head of the family.
And that is
Good
a
one.
controversial topic because I've heard so many different version of women submit to your husband. And I like the fact that it says submit to your husband. It did not say submit to your boyfriend, submit to your baby daddy. It says husband. It's actually and I'm saying that because I mean, we all have people in relationship that are not, legally or traditional religiously married, and they still hold on to that statement that wives should submit to the husband. And they forget that we're not husband and wife, but not even that. Like, I've heard so many things about that statement that, because so many people think when a woman expresses herself, right? When she demands to be treated fairly, to be treated like a queen, it means that she's not really submitting. So, Dr. Sindze, I know you have a lot to say about that.
I have a lot. So we can actually talk all day about this, but I'm just gonna pick up some good talking point from Angelbert, and he keep bringing on the Bible, the Bible, the Bible say this, the Bible say that. That's great. That for me, I'm not a big fan of the church or everything that pastors and whatever are there saying or use the Bible to get people being submitted to
Mm,
order. No, I am not a fan of that. My thing is using education in a wrong way is to use your own knowledge to submit people, to have people being killed, mass incarceration, mass killing, even the slavery was supported by some priests. Even the colonization was supported by some priests. That's what
mm,
using the Bible and education to brainwash people come into play and get women being submitted, bluntly to their husbands. So, taking to that point, I might say submission means to me mutual respect. If you get yourself into a relationship, even when you guys are still dating, from the early beginning, you can actually detect that this man is not going to be a great leader for my envisioned family.
mhm,
This man will not or may not be the husband or the man that I dream to live with for the rest of my life. You always, and let me tell you, women are very small. They can see that. And if you look at the proportion of the women worldwide that has been into a abusive relationship, the United Nations actually placed that at 35% of women worldwide being abused.
mhm.
If you come into the segmentation, you will see that the big part of that came from Africa and Asia, not in Europe or United States. Meaning what? People using the Bible or faith as a tool to abuse the wicked part of our society. If we believe women are slightly weaker in strength, not in mind, not in thinking, you know, not in their intellectual capability. No. If you come into that, it's completely another topic. But just to agree with you, accountability is the key. Men has to be accountable for their abusive behavior at the same level as a woman being abusive to their husband. It goes both ways.
Yes.
In a relationship, what should prevail is respect, mutual respect. If you respect your husband or your wife, you will not be afraid to tell him, to tell him what you really want. If you love someone, the first thing that come into play is respect. I cannot be abusive to you all day long, and at night we'll try to make love with you, or 2 days later try to make love with you. That's not a relationship.
Mm.
That's not a good relationship. And from the early beginning, as I said before, you can actually detect that this man or this woman is not for me. Sometimes we just hope that into a relationship, the woman or man might change. May that change that you expected might never comes in.
I have a lot to say about that one.
Yeah. Don't expect someone that all you can believe that you can change someone. No, you cannot change him or change her. She can only change herself.
Yeah,
It's the willingness to change yourself. You have to be willing to change that. Not go pray that God with somehow with some type of mistake or type of power will come in and make that change. God change that. He's gonna wake up in the morning. He never clean dishes. That he's gonna wake up one morning and you're gonna find him in the kitchen watching dishes. That will not happen.
I
Or
always,
can
I
calling
always
you my
preach.
queen.
Yeah,
Or
I
calling
always
you my
preach.
yes.
I always preach this thing because um, I call it struggle love. Really struggle love. The type of relationship that we have accepted that is going to be painful. There's going to be trauma in it, and that's the way. Marriage is not easy. I mean, we often hear this thing: marriage is not easy. Just deal with it. Marriage is not easy. By the time you go to another person or your parents, sometimes they will tell you, how did you think we actually survive? Marriage is not easy. And just think of he will change. Gosh, I don't know. I can write a book about this. He will change. Seriously, because I always have. This is what I always tell women and men because I'm such an advocate for for women in general, how they can actually get outside of the comfort zone and thrive. So I do believe that people have to work, not just women, men and women. We have to work on ourselves. I think Deacon, Angelbert, you said it perfectly. Like you have to work in yourself first and be full before you can expect to go into a relationship, because you don't want to go half full in a relationship and expect that person to make you happy, because happiness is from within. Like when people say, when I will have a home, I'll be happy. Those are temporary bursts of joy. This is not happiness. Happiness is sitting with yourself. Are you happy with your own self? Have you done the work so that mentally, when you go into a relationship, are you actually adding on to the relationship? Are you bringing that person to his best, to his best version? And to a certain extent, there's so much expectation on women when it comes to you're going to make the relationship good because you're a woman, you're supposed to make it healthy. And then you have the other partner that does not seem to do any work. And everything is the woman is the one who makes the home. It means that I give you a place, you make it a home. But you give a woman headache, she will give you war. You give her frustration, she
Sure.
will give you, I mean, like, she would just like, you cannot, I think people have lost the definition of like marriage is supposed to be you and I coming together. I mean, not just even marriage, people who are in a relationship. They're supposed to be, you have worked on yourself and I've worked on myself. And as we come together, we are not perfect beings because you never done working on yourself. Working on yourself is something that you will do all your life because you go through different seasons, and through different seasons, your priorities change, things that you thought were important change. So, but if you have committed to actually continually working on yourself, you will find out that the relationship will be thriving. But then when you have this person working on themselves and the next person not working on themselves, that person is already ahead of the game and she's trying to pull you, and you telling
Hmm.
her that she's the one who's supposed to do the work for you. It's like I use this analogy. It's like telling somebody I want to have abs, but telling the person go to the gym for me. But you're expecting to have abs, and you keep on telling the person go to the gym for me. So I love this conversation because I think people have to be held accountable, and we do have to really put an emphasis on healthy relationship because I think of the children who grow up in those type of unhealthy relationship. They learn. I mean, you don't have to speak to the kids. They just watch. They just have to watch you, and that's exactly how the idea. This is the first example. I mean, Dr. Sindze, you have kids. This is your first. I mean, by watching you and your wife, those kids, they have the first example of what a family looks like, of what
Sure.
a relationship, a marriage should look like. And so
Hmm.
often, parents don't take that into account. They expect that kids will go on their own and do the thing, like you will learn. No, the first education of a child is at home, not at school, at home. So it's really something that, like you say, we can talk about this thing all day long because I'm trying to hold myself together so that I don't go all over the place.
Great.
But yeah.
Thank you very much, Leonce, for bringing that up. Myself, I grew up with my family. I never witnessed my dad
Hmm.
raising hands on my mom. Very maybe rarely. I can see them argue sometimes, but I never saw them get into a fight. However, I have witnessed some in my family going to into a really, really abusive relationship. They might talk about it sometime, they might not even talk about it after years. And what come into play is, where can I go? What can I do? So they accept it, and we come back into the normalizing the situation that they're living into it. So what we can do right now, our generation, to actually overcome that type of abuse is to empower women. Empowerment come with our kids, our sister, our colleague. Put your colleague, if you are the boss in a company, you have people working for you, men and women. Try sometime to uh, empower or promote a woman to a bigger responsibility than men. Let her lead. Let her show the way. Doing it that way might put her into, in front of her responsibilities like, hey, I need to represent woman here. I'm here to show the way. I'm here to set the stage. That's type of mindset that our generation should be willing to do. If you have a woman boss, don't look at her like a woman. No,
Mhm.
she's intellectually fit.
She's the
to be there.
boss.
She is the boss, and you are around to support her.
Mm.
Just like you have your wife at home that goes through many challenges, even if she's a stay-at-home mom. The amount of job that she got done at home, you as a man, you cannot do even 50% of it. And I'm telling you the truth. I work from home now. I can see how I can actually manage with kids' school. Thanks God, school is over now for the kids. But I can see how I can manage with kids, taking care of my work, keeping up with everything. Sometimes you just get over it, it's just like, okay, you have to pick and choose. But there's
Mhm.
no way for a woman to pick and choose in a household. Is a package.
Mhm.
It's all in one. If you get back from work, see the house dirty, you must say, "Oh, this woman is too dirty." But you will not think like she spent all day taking care of kids. She spent all day cooking for me. She was doing laundry. She went to the market. She went to the store. She did this. She take care of her bills. She went to the hospital. You're not looking at all that. You're only looking at one specific spot. So everything depends of how you look at things and from which angle you're looking at. We just have to have this conversation very often among our friends, even at workplace, and most importantly, report. You witness
Mm.
abuse, report it. It doesn't have to be physical. Even bullying, report it. Report it and have, to the right authority. Reporting something doesn't mean you're going to send someone in jail. Some can just go to counseling. Some can just go and get some type of therapy because you don't know their past. Maybe they grow up in a very abusive environment that, when they change the environment, they're not aware of what is going on. They're not aware of their surrounding. They're not aware of legal system in place or support system in place. They new environment that can actually support them to live a decent life as a human being. You
Yeah.
know, so we just have to talk about it and do
Uh-huh.
not hesitate to report
Report
or
somebody.
or step in when necessary. If you
Yes.
cannot stay in, call the police. If you feel like you
Yes.
might get yourself injured by stepping in, call the police. It's their job. They can even just show up just for a routine control. You
Mm.
may have misunderstood something, report it. The police will show up
Yeah.
at that house or that apartment just for regular checking. And many abuses, many abusers have been put in jail just through that routine check that someone heard something or often heard something, report it, and the wife trying to hide it and so forth. But the police, just by routine, stop by one day and actually witness and save a tragic situation. So we have to keep ourselves and use our education and our smartness in a good way, not in a bad
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, and I think you say therapy. Therapy is really important.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, Many people believe that they don't need it. So, Angelbert, do you want to touch base on that?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier on, the indispensable role of therapy. If you are someone who can control themselves emotionally, the need for therapy. We can over pronounce it. We can over mention it or I mean, it's a process, like you said, and things that are so deeply rooted in our cultural understanding and our socio-religious understanding. We don't expect to eradicate it with a chat like this or a snap of a finger, but we want to continue to speak to it. We want to continue to identify. We want to continue to hold ourselves accountable, hold our friends accountable.
Mhm.
There are a few things that I want to touch based on what we've had the conversation about. Um, First, it's just the traditional understanding that we have of marriage. And I hear you, Dr. Sindze, talking about, now you go to work, you can see what the woman has to do, and all of that. I'm a big advocate. My father um, is an amazing cook.
Mhm.
He's an amazing cook. I was telling a friend the other day, one of my greatest experience of eating meat was the one my father boiled. That's how I discovered that, you can boil meat without adding extra water in the pot because the meat brings out its own water and then that broth goes back in and cooks the meat. I never knew. I knew that from my father.
Mhm.
Growing up as a kid, he would make meat. We used to call it meeting meat. When people are coming home for gatherings, he would make that. Now, the traditional understanding is that the man goes out to work while the woman is at home. Even in the very rural settings, the man it's bronze and brain. The man goes to dig the farm and the woman goes to carry what the man is harvesting and all of that. But as much as those kind of settings and traditional understandings of marriage and relationship and the abuses that come with it still exist, we are living in 21st century where you have families where the woman is even the breadwinner,
Mm-hmm.
and the man has to realize the question of roles and who plays what role has to swap. We are living in a time when both partners go out to work, and I just think it's the height of insensitivity if both partners go out to work and we come back home and we say, oh, I am the man, you, the woman, should do all of the rest of the thing.
Mm.
I think there is a sense of love, for example, in the husband being there while the woman is cooking, if the husband cannot cook, and he's washing the dishes and putting things in place and accompanying the woman in that kitchen setting. Most of the times you always see us, the man is watching the TV and the woman is in the kitchen. It was a very disastrous statement made by the president of Nigeria the other time was talking about the wife and said, oh, the man has to be in the other room, for crying out loud. So then the other thing I wanted to touch was the understanding of mutual respect, which connects to what we were talking about. It's echoed in Genesis chapter 2, verse 2 to 25, about how man and woman was created. It's just interesting. Yesterday, um, we were in a prayer gathering by the diocese, my diocese, the Diocese of San Jose, and my bishop, Bishop Oscar Cantu, said something about the Genesis creation story that I never thought about, and it struck me. I would want to share it here. He said, he was praying. It was a prayer. So he said, God our Father, you created and gave man dominion over animals, plants, everything in the earth, but you never gave man dominion over the other human beings.
Mm.
Mhm.
For a minute, I prayed with that. He was praying about that with racism. And I think about that now in terms on the categories of marriage. The man does not have dominion over the woman. That is not what it is. In fact, it was a new spark of light for me. And then now that we talk about mutual respect, we realize that the man and the woman, even from biblical interpretations, would be called to that understanding that they should mutually respect each other. In fact, some biblical translations will say, and God said, let's create the woman, let's give man a permanent help and mate. mate. We are mates. We are equals. A permanent help and an equal. So if we're looking at a support system that is equal, they both have dignity as humans.
Yes.
Then we would realize in our culture and in our rhetoric as we speak along. And I heard you say that, Dr. Sindze, but I know for a fact you didn't say that with the meaning I want to give to it. But I want to raise it because it speaks to how much it is in our subconscious. You said, oh, if you have a female boss, you shouldn't don't look at her like a woman. She's a woman.
She is a
It's
woman.
what we're saying is don't look at her as somebody weak, or don't look at her as somebody who cannot be the boss. When you see that's how our language, how deep the education or miseducation has gone
Yes.
into. That even when we speak, you would see a boy crying, you say, clean your eyes, don't be a girl. Really? But those weaklings and those weaklings that we sell in the way we educate, in the way we speak. Oh, a boy and a girl are in a place playing together, brothers and sisters, by the way. But simply, I don't know if you have a boy and a girl in your house, but I want to give you an example. And they're playing, and the place is, kids, they always throw their toys around, their Legos and all of that. And you hear the parent tell the girl child, go and clean it up. You have to start learning that now because it's what a good wife does. You have to learn how to be a good wife. So it's a certain degree of learned helplessness. You educate the child, the female child, to be in a position of learned helplessness, while your child continues to internalize the fact that I can get away with whatever it is. There is certain things that as a man I cannot do. I cannot cook. Can you, man? I make on Saturdays while I live in Berkeley and also here. I make my meals. On Saturdays, I cook 3, 4 soups and a stew, and I freeze it for a week. I'm not inviting any of the two of you. No.
How is it in California? That is a dog.
That's actually what it is. We must begin to educate in this way. Um, some people might say, we have to get the tools of marriage. I totally support that. And I say to that, it's not one or the other. Because, some people say, oh, no, praying, you don't need to pray. Why should you pray for your husband? You don't need to pray. No, no, no. I feel it's not one or the other. It's both. As we seek marriage tools, we also have to understand that as humans, we are broken, we are weak, we fail. Power of prayer. This is where the power of the presence of God comes into that marriage. I remember saying to one of my older brothers once, I said, think about the wedding feast of Canaan. They have the drink and everything, but until Jesus shows up in that marriage, the feast is not complete.
Yes.
So I'm not taking away from what the psychological tools are or the very practical tools should be. In fact, I'm saying all of that and adding the fact that we follow that to pray for consistency in those. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Anyway, it's already over 1 hour. I'm already enjoying, I'm really enjoying the conversation. I can see many people in the chat box saying, wait, let me just put this one. If not to the police, at the very least, tell a trusted friend or family member about any abuse perpetrated in the home.
Very true. Very true. Someone has to know. Someone has to know.
Yeah.
Someone has to know, and ultimately, the authority has to step in and hold the guy accountable. Because
one thing that I want to say about that statement specifically is many women talk to each other, and I have those friends. We talk to each other, they are in abusive homes, but they will never report the husband because the institution of marriage is as if it's bigger than their own uh, lives. So I've had women tell me that, I mean, first of all, it's so hard to tell a woman leave that relationship, and even when you do, she still find herself in it. And so I agree with the tell a family member, but more time than often, it I mean, unless the woman is ready to go and she's scared of her life, right? She's scared for her life, then another person can help her out and report the guy. But in the situation when the woman does not believe that she can find better, because it's usually that the being afraid or being scared of the unknown. What if I leave this relationship? Am I going to find another one? And if we have kids, and I did not learn to be financially independent, how am I going to raise that child? So what would you say to that woman who finds herself in that position and she just does not know how to live? Because it's actually happening a lot. And I have friends in that current situation that are living the exact same thing.
Leons, let me take on this that first. How you
Okay.
said um, abuse and ultimate abuse that can actually cost your life
Mm-hmm.
does not come in at once. It's a recurrent activity.
Yeah.
You know, it's a cumulative actions that start with bullying, that start with not respecting you as a wife, as a human being. When that actually starts, you have to tell your family, tell a friend, talk to a good friend. If the guy, your husband, do not remediate to that situation, you are early in a relationship, you can break up or stay in over years with kids and so forth, find yourself in a trap that you will think your life will be worthless if you
You live.
leave that marriage. That's a trap. You can actually lose your life in that relationship physically because you have already lost your mental stability
Mm-hmm.
from that abusive relationship.
Yeah.
So I might say everything depends on the environment and the society you live in. If those friends that you're talking about are in Europe or in the United States or somewhere else, we have something
It-
we have something here called child support. No, I'm telling you the truth. We have something here called child support. It's there for a reason. So if a man think that you guys have already have like two kids, and he can abuse you as he wants because you have nowhere to go, you have somewhere to go. He's not your God. He's not your creator. And
Mm.
you can always find better out there than what you are in.
Yeah.
Usually, there's a state out there, that state is better to be alone than be accompanied by a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's advise the people according to their environment, according to their specific situation, and avoid globalizing every relationship. No,
Yeah.
Yeah, I support you wholly when you talk about advising people according to their specific situation, according to their specific relationship, which of course is huge. It's a lot because it's very rampant. Abuse is very rampant, actually, in certain societies. One of the things I believe in, I believe in change. I believe in transformation. I'm a
Mhm.
strong believer in that. I believe that people grow. Um, However, I don't believe that a drowning person who cannot swim can save themselves. I don't believe that.
Mm,
So I believe in, and like, because you would hear people say in relationships, or you hear some people say, "Oh, it's there's a love between you and I." There's a song back in the days in Cameroon, between man and woman, no put your mouth there. I remember that phrase because it stuck with me, right? I think that's also a wrong between man and woman. Oh, don't get involved. No, when something is wrong, there is a need because they are both drowning. There is a need for that external help to come and help, not to come and play first and foremost the blame game, but to come and
mhm.
help make sure that that love grows. Because what we ultimately want is the growth of love, not the
Yes.
destruction. We want the growth of love. So, and I say this, you asked the question, the question that Hugo asked, it was, I've said first that I believe in love. And I think once is far too many times. Because you hear sometimes the lady say, no, he just only slapped me. So, yeah, he's not like that. I made him angry. There is a
Mm,
self-realization that justifies the evil being perpetuated, right? I
Mhm.
made him angry. And then the man will probably bring a flower and give to the lady and be like, I love you. I was just angry. Day one. 2 weeks down the line, there will be another angry again. Day two.
Mhm.
You would understand from the onset of your relationship, even before marriage, when a man talks down and tramples on the opinion of the woman, when the man makes the woman voiceless. And I must say, by the way, to every woman out there who's going through this, who's struggling through this, my prayers are with you. Remain assured that we will continue supporting you by our voice through any means. And to any man out there who is doing this, we are calling you to book, we are calling you to justice, we are calling you to self realization, we are calling
mhm.
you to love. And do not feel ashamed because everybody, even the devil, wants to be loved. Even the devil wants to be loved. So
Sure.
everybody is seeking for that. And everybody wants to give that. I spoke with a friend once who said the reason the devil seeks to destroy you is to make more people be in his side, which is part of loving. That
Oh.
it's me. So I say that, and you hear, I say that to go to the next thing because you hear women say, "Oh, I just want to enjoy it for the sake of my children."
Mhm.
Very common argument, very common, and I understand the heart of a mother. Talking from my own experience of my mother is beyond gold. Gold cannot define the heart of a mother. Is understatement. However, when you're in that space where you are mentally being destroyed, you are physically being abused, you are emotionally being abused, the truth of the matter is you are not helping the children. And for
Yes.
those who are in religious settings who hold their religious beliefs dear, what God has put together, let no man put asunder. I speak, for example, of the Catholic Church, we have marriage tribunals that you should consult. So if you do not know, seek help.
Perhaps.
Psychological help, religious help, seek help, which will bring that man not just to accountability, but will set him on the path of transformation and change. Because if you truly love them, I don't think you want them to die. You want them to change. However, we cannot sit on that place of change while we get destroyed. Then we are not being responsible to the temple of the Holy Spirit given to us by God. We're not taking care of ourselves. And like I said in the beginning,
Yeah.
it is a word belonging. You have to be you first. You have to know who you are. You have to be able to go deep into yourself, know your weaknesses, know your strengths, and be vulnerable enough to put it on the table in a relationship and say, these are my weaknesses, sweetheart. I want you to help me grow in this way. I get really angry when I get angry. Is there something? Can we have a code word? Can we have a code language? If we say, okay, if you notice I'm getting very mad, I'm very angry, maybe the code word is you love me.
Mm.
Mind the man who is getting all crazy that you love me. Because what
Yeah.
you love somebody, your anger will not be to destroy them emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Because marriage, there is no one side win. It's a teamwork.
Teamwork.
You as a
Yeah.
man cannot be happy in marriage alone. No, it's both. Because once the woman is not happy, you have successfully destroyed your own happiness and the happiness of the children.
Yeah.
Successfully, we destroyed them.
Yeah.
Definitely. In taking in that, I always said to my fellow friends and my family that in a relationship, make yourself be happy. Do not expect your husband to make you happy. He can contribute to your happiness,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately, your happiness depends on you. So find with
Yes.
yourself something that will keep you happy, keep you joyful, and keep you healthy. So marriage is a complementary relationship.
Mm.
Complementary means what? I'm happy, you are happy, we are happy.
Mm.
One side is happy, another one is not. The relationship will not into happiness, the state of mind. No, you guys have to always find way to convey yourself and be in a setting to be happy yourself. That's how you grow up in a very enjoyful environment, grow up stronger and smarter, open in the way that if your kid get out, something happen, he might have that reflex to come back and just tell you his day, tell you what has happened. But if you have been abused to his mom, that kid will never open up to you. He will
Yes.
always try to keep things for himself, and in the long run, he will be destroyed by that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try to, spread some love around ourselves
Yes.
and educate people, help our friend uh, if they have some type of language that is not always very acceptable. Like I'm talking right now, I know myself. I'm not always a good guy. I can, Leons know very well. I I might not be aggressive, or somewhere I'm not always kind, respectful, and so forth. Every man, every human being has that type of, what call that in back in the days we used to say that 30 seconds of foolishness.
Fully the 1 second. But I
Yeah,
think with
Yes.
everyone, we are not perfect being. Having you on here has, I hope it has enlightened so many people who are watching us and the people who will be watching us after, because the video is going to stay on my channel. But one thing that I want to say for all women and for men is that you both talk about we have to work on ourselves, but so many of us are actually not doing it. We don't even know where to start when it comes to how do you work on yourself. I can tell you for a fact, my work, my inner work, within. I call it spirituality. I had to actually pause and ask myself the question, what is it that I want and who I am? And because there was always questions as to, I living alone, I live in the US alone. Everything that I'm doing is work, 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 and my family is outside of the US. So I had to really put myself back and said, why are you complaining? Because every relationship, and the relationship that I was in, I felt like I was expecting the person to bring that happiness that I could not find from within. So my journey to really being and becoming happy started in 2013. That's when I discovered that I was amazing. I could actually do everything. I could do things by myself and feel fulfilled, feel full. And I still live this life where I preach every day that people should do the work in understanding who are there, because so many people work out there not understanding what they bring to the table. And it's really unfortunate, but the work doesn't stop. It's the work continues. So I started in 2013, I still find myself that from 2013 to 2020, I've changed. I've had to ask myself the question, what is it that I want in a relationship? How do I want to be in that relationship? But overall, it should be everyone doing that type of work. Like before you get into a relationship, find out who you are and what and how would you serve that relationship to make it fruitful, to make it thrive. Because many people are going with the expectation that the other person is supposed to make me happy. So I love the fact that you guys touch base on that. Are there any few words you guys want to say before we close? It's already, I think we've been on for 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I really,
Wow.
I know time flies.
Wow.
I appreciate all of you who are watching. And I also appreciate you, Deacon, Angelbert, and Dr. Sindze, because this is something that it's really a sensitive topic and a controversial topic, because more time than often people don't want to hear other people telling them what to do. And you guys touch base on therapy, and many people within our own community don't believe in therapy. So are there any few last words you want to leave my followers with?
Well, I will just thank all your followers and thank you for this invitation. It was a great honor for me to be here this evening. And I will just let your followers know that subjugation of women in our society, even back in Africa, is not rooted into our tradition nor in our culture.
Yeah.
It's a man desire to fulfill their taste of power, to fulfill their taste of being superior to women. And if you witness, I come back to this, witness any type of abuse around you, say something, tell
Yes.
someone what's going on. And if you feel like that uh, abuse could be fatal to someone, report it to the police. Do not
Mm,
hesitate. Reporting to the police is not will not harm you. The police will never say your neighbor call me. The police will never say X or Y call me. They will show up to your address and check what is going on in that particular address that you report it to. So, if to save people life, and we always need to know that womankind life is worthless, does not have a price. We should try our best to live a better life that we can.
yeah.
And thank you for everything else. And I hope to see the reaction of your followers and what they think about all this. And
Yes.
I believe among your followers, you definitely have a lot of people that knows me maybe very well from years
Yes.
past and so forth.
Yes.
So I will see their comment and what about what they think. So we'll see. Uh,
Introvert, any last word?
Just a thank you. I think you are amazing. I think you are
Thank
courageous.
you.
I
Thank you.
think more men and women need to step up to the platform to speak about. Let's. I always say, let's talk about it. It never kills anybody talking about it. Let's talk about
Mm-hmm.
it. You don't need to get mad about it. Let's educate ourselves about it. And you know, it saddens me that we still have people who are out there who just think that the woman is the property of the man. It's
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
it's
mhm.
it's unbelievable. I think it trivializes the height of love, the summit, which makes people say, "I fully surrender and give myself to you," and the other person saying, "I fully surrender and give myself to you." Once you begin to see the other person as a tool, particularly in this situation of abuse, where the man thinks the woman is a tool, it destroys everything ever
Everything.
pursued by love.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that in the way the children then get educated. So, parents out there, my friends, you know me, I will tell you. My brothers can tell you that. I will call them out. I have bought Chimamanda's Dear Ijawele is a book I recommend for every man. Read. You might not agree with her. It's okay not to agree with her, but pick out the points she's talking about, pick out what she's saying, understand why she's saying it is very important. Um, the other thing I want to say is please, our young women, please,
Mm.
our young girls, please, our women, do not, again, I say this slowly, do not let society pressure you
Yes.
to
Mm-hmm.
get married. Do not let society pressure you to devalue yourself just
Mhm.
because you want to earn the title of a wife. After the white garment day, after all the champagne popping and dance moves you learn in corporate gigs, the journey begins. The
Yes.
real thing begins. Take your time, know yourself, know the man, love the man properly, let the man love you properly and respectfully, like your friend life, and try to share, and then you will be in bliss, even when you do not have a dime in your pocket.
Yes.
Thank you very
Yes.
much once again, Jane, for bringing me on here. I appreciate it. Anytime, any day. God bless us
Thank
as we
you,
continue to
Angelbert.
talk about these things. And Dr.
Thank
Sindze,
you.
Nice meeting you.
my pleasure. I hope one day I will have both of you out here so that I can stew you up and give you some good food to eat. And wine also, if only
Definitely
one.
coming to
Good, good,
Good wine.
California.
Good
good
wine.
food as
Good
is
wine.
possible. We will make that happen.
We'll make it happen. Thank you guys for all of you who are currently watching. I hope this conversation was really insightful. If you guys took some, I want to say some notes, just make sure you share with others. There are so many people who are not willing to actually have this conversation. And we have to talk about it. As much as it makes us uncomfortable, we still have to talk about it. The work is not done yet. It's really heartbreaking to see people still in those abusive relationships, and still today we are still dealing with people dying. I mean, just recently I heard a girl from Nigeria in the church reading the Bible and was raped and was killed. Another young girl, 6 years old in Cameroon, who was raped by 4 men and was killed. We need to stop this thing. Abuse is not the way. Even when we need to discipline the other person, being physically or mentally abusive will not resolve the issue. So for all of you who are watching, please share this video, and thank you again Deacon Angelbert, Chikere, and Dr. Paul Sindze. And I hope you guys had fun. I saw so many comments. Let me just put the last one. And do not let society pressure you into marriage. Think, take your time, Deacon Angelbert. And then we have do not let society pressure you. So thank you guys again for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a good day, stay safe, and we all should just hold on tight. I know the climate is really down, but we all should find ways to actually work on our mental health because it's so easy to get caught up in what's happening. So thank you guys for watching, and bye.
Bye.
Bye.